Welcome, everybody, to this episode of Our Experience. I am Chad Wurz, Chief Executive for ASCP, alongside Tom Hansel of Hansel Health. And it's our August 12th episode, and it's the middle of summer, and there's a lot going on. And we're just going to have an episode talking about everything that's going on.
Everything in life.
Everything in life. It's been an unusually busy summer. I had to do some testimony in Illinois to the State House on PBM reform. We had a federal PBM reform take place also. There's all kinds of talk about that.
So there's talk about it.
I know.
And we talk about it, and we complain.
I know.
And we should, because there's a lot to complain about. But the reality, do you think there will be any type of real reform that we could actually press into, that we can hope for?
Let me start by answering it this way. I think we are at a point where pharmacies need some instant relief, and that is not going to come even if we were to pass our magic PBM bill that's the ideal today. It's not going to become active for a number of months, if not a year down the road. So there's two problems. One, you have pharmacies that are actively struggling right now, and we've got to get them help. And then we also have to create that long-term fix. I think a lot of the federal legislation is long-term fix. A lot of it's focused on transparency. Being in Illinois, you get a stronger sense of what the states are trying to do. You have Kentucky passed a law, giving people the full dispensing fee that the state set for its Medicaid department, which was, I think, $10.64. And they get that rate on every prescription, commercial prescription, until January 1st of 27. And in that time between now and then, the state is going to determine what the dispensing fee should be, and then make that change effective in 2027. I'm hoping in Kentucky that we can have the conversation around the difference in the dispensing fee for a community pharmacy and for a long-term care pharmacy, because that would be good. There's also pieces of legislation like that also have a provision that says if you own a pharmacy, so if you're, one of the PBMs that owns a pharmacy, you cannot prefer your own pharmacy. You can't pay your own pharmacy more and pay another pharmacy less, just simply because you own them.
Yeah.
So it's trying to get at the transparency and the self-dealing of these mega vertically integrated companies.
No, certainly.
And those are faster than federal.
Is there any organizations you could think of, either now or in the history, that had more power than what it seems like the PBMs have? Because, we just this past year, the FTC tried to get involved, and they asked the PBMs to provide information. The PBMs told them to go fly a kite.
Yeah.
And it almost, in many ways, seems like a drug cartel when you're sitting there going, hey, we don't have to listen to you, federal government. We don't have to listen to you, FTC. How do you think that they've gotten this powerful, and is there really any opportunity that there's going to be any kind of real change? Or it could be a legislation here and there that we can get excited about or hope for. But, at the end of the day, if there's not an actual law or actual change happen, I don't know if there's a pathway to that.
Yeah, I think ultimately it has to be the Federal Trade Commission. It has to be this report that was released as an interim report. It is unequivocally damning to the PBM industry. They left no stone unturned in terms of how they feel about this vertical integration and the self-dealing and the way that the PBMs are behaving. There's no question about that. The hearing on Capitol Hill also released a report that was every bit as damning as the Federal Trade Commission report. But there's a couple things in that report that, one, you're the agency that's supposed to do that. In your report, you said in the past 10 years, we have not done anything to stop this. So you're thinking that means we're going to start.
Yeah.
So I think that has to be part of where it comes from. They have to, and in the meantime, they have to stop doing the same things that they had done over that 10-year time frame. So, we shouldn't see. Hopefully, you shouldn't see continued vertical integration. Plans buying pharmacies, plans buying provider groups. If you think about it, I mean, if you think about the plan could, not only do they have a plan, but they have providers and nurse practitioners and physicians in nursing homes. Maybe up until now they've spent time, shaping and steering residents toward their plan to gain market share. Now they're going to potentially, there's the potential out there that not only will they steer you to the plan, get you on the plan, but now they're writing scripts and sending them to their own pharmacy.
Yep.
And then getting reimbursed by their own plan. Like, it's just it makes no sense. So I think there has to be another, Teddy Roosevelt trust busting routine that goes on. I don't think it's just healthcare either, but these mega companies, whether they're tech or healthcare, are way too big, have way too much influence, take away all access and control of the people that they, arguably serve.
Biggest lobbying dollars.
They do. They do. But Teddy did it.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to go in there and
revive Teddy
and do it, because we also had in this summer we had that CrowdStrike, which I had never even heard of.
Was it out of Chicago that impacted?
Yeah, never heard of it. Shut down communications and created issues. A third of the people on the planet were affected, because it affected all the airlines, it affected some media outlets. When these companies get that big,
shut down O'Hare for a day.
When they get too big and one tiny thing happens, there's a vulnerability aspect to this.
The conspiracy theory on that.
I don't know that.
That was a test. They just wanted to see if they could press the button and what the effect was. But the real one's coming here. Well, they said right before the presidential election.
They said that about COVID too. They said that about COVID too. That was just a test. The real bad thing is coming next. It could happen. But the United Healthcare cyber issue that we had way earlier in the year, same deal. Yeah. Like, you can't have one hiccup and half the providers in the country are affected. Like, there's got to be, you're too big. Yeah. You're too big. Not to mention all of the other aspects of that, the non-competition, all the other things that go along with having one giant company or a few giant companies and not a lot of competition.
So back a little bit to the PBMs. I know that you're not on Capitol Hill on a regular basis, and you're interacting with other CEOs and other organizations, and so you got your thumb on the pulse. But people like Arnie and Jim, they're up there every day, really walking the beat. From what they're telling you, and they come back and report, are they still having the conversation like what a long-term care pharmacy is, what a PBM is? Are they still having those conversations, or does everyone kind of up on Capitol Hill get it? And I know that's great if they do, because in 2 months, a third of them is going to be replaced anyway with someone else in those seats. But do you feel like that tide has turned and they really understand the effect that the seniors are having and what they're going to be having as they grow dramatically over the next 5 years, and then the control that PBMs are having? Do you feel like that's turned?
A little bit. I think this issue is so incredibly complex that they're never going to understand it. And that's okay. I don't think they have to 100% understand it to get some reasonable fixes in place. And I think that's why you see this initial state effort of, all right, we're going to look at this because we don't understand it, but we're going to make sure at least you get your dispensing fee that you should be getting. So you're seeing that. And then you're seeing obvious things like, you can't prefer your own pharmacy over other people's because you own it, like as the PBM. So you're seeing some of that. And I think those are great steps, particularly if they can happen without legislation, if the State Department of Health can just fix that so that pharmacies can get some instant relief. I think that's number one. Legislating it in states is number two, and number three is what is the real fix that ultimately solves the problem? And I don't know that even we have our head around that yet. The Save the Senior Care Pharmacy coalition kind of launched from SCPC, and we all support that, but I don't even think it it is creating noise and attention and driving towards solutions, but it doesn't even know what the right answer is yet.
So that just came out. Most of our listeners probably don't even know what that is. Do you want to talk a little bit?
Well, I mean, it's effectively, it's SCPC is leading a coalition of pharmacies that are trying to affect PBM and relationships with PBMs. I think from a policy, from a Hill standpoint, it's good. Obviously, we need to do this, but I think there's another aspect to what as part of that, we need to focus on the administration and on the agencies to get that instant relief, those instant fixes, and then we honestly, and some people may disagree with this, but we have got to meet with some of the principals at the PBMs, and I have this naive belief, and again, people will probably criticize that, but some of these people that are pulling levers don't really know what they're doing with respect to long-term care facilities. They're just like the legislators, they're just like other people that we interact with. They don't know what long-term care is or long-term care pharmacy. It's that education piece. It's maybe 5 or 6% of their whole business. So if they pull a lever and say we're cranking down your reimbursement on generics because they think they can get away with it, they're thinking about it in terms of community drugstores, those kinds of pharmacies. Right. They're not thinking about long-term care, and they don't know the marketplace in long-term care because it's completely different. The resident doesn't sit up in their bed in the nursing home and say, oh, I guess I can't go to Lone Star Pharmacy today, I'll just go to CVS. Like, it just doesn't work that way in a nursing home, and you start to create potential chaos. If a long-term care pharmacy ever said, I'm not taking that plan, you're basically telling the nursing home, those 25 people out of the 100, it's your problem.
Yeah, because they gotta provide the medications, they gotta provide all their care.
Yeah.
So if you choose to do that,
and so I think you have to kind of use the hospital as an example. People can recognize that, hey, if you go to the hospital, you realize there's a pharmacy at that hospital. Yes. There's not 15. Like, you're not in your hospital bed after post-surgery going, oh, I get my meds from Walgreens. Can you get them from there? Yeah. Like, that's not the way it works. And that's the same way that a nursing home and a lot of assisted livings work is there's so much operational efficiency that the pharmacy has to deliver for that entity that the market is completely different. So you've got to get to those people at PBMs and explain that so that then they're like, oh, you're right. Maybe we need to kind of adjust how we pull the levers on you guys versus everybody else.
So here's the new threat that came out over the past 6 months, and it's been validated. Now, maybe just within the inner circles of long-term care, maybe it's not accurate, but I'm under the impression that one of the top 4 big PBMs are getting ready to acquire a large long-term care pharmacy chain.
Yeah, I think that's another event of the summer.
I don't think it's a conspiracy theory. I
no,
think
it's not a conspiracy.
Actually, is in motion, or at least that consideration's in motion. If that happens, let's fast forward 6 months. That occurred. What do you think the fallout is going to be of that in long-term care?
Yeah, it's a tough question to answer. Number one, it's not new. I mean, CVS Caremark exists, and they own Omnicare, so it's not like this will be the first time a plan owned a pharmacy.
But I was gold standard example of that.
Well, no, but it exists. But I think the difference is instead of this is strategic. That wasn't necessarily a strategy of the PBM. That was a strategy of CVS.
Yeah, I agree.
So this would be a strategy of the PBM.
Certainly.
And it goes back to what I said about the FTC report.
Especially if it's more ALF patients than nursing home patients.
And I think it goes back to that FTC report, which is, are you going to allow this to continue to happen? I mean, you just wrote a report and just destroyed PBMs about this vertical integration and allowing them to buy pharmacies and control market share. And you're just going to let it happen again? Mm-hmm. So that's number one. I think that the FTC has a role here specifically in long-term care and across pharmacy to put the brakes on all of this. Again, we're not going to do any more of these mergers and acquisitions until we figure out how we're going to fix the problem. Otherwise, you're just allowing it to continue to get more and more out of control. So we'll see if the FTC, takes that approach, because I think that's important. And then, what happens? Let's say that it goes through and they own it. I don't know, because there's going to be multiple instances of, are other plans going to be okay with contracting with that other PBM? Because they're going to have to if they want to have patients in the long-term care facilities that use their plan versus the one that the pharmacy has.
If they can incentivize those ALF patients in one way or another to now use their mail order pharmacy.
No, I get it. But that's my point. Is like, how is that going to work? Mm-hmm. Particularly in those environments in AL or in SNF where you don't. There's one pharmacy, so now you have to deal with them, and there could be situations where pharmacies are like, I'm not going to take that contract because they now own a competing pharmacy of mine. I mean, that's possible. So I don't know. You're going to have chaos. I think you have to rally some of the principals at the table to fight against things like this. You've got to get AHCA, NCAL, Argentum whipped up, because ultimately they're the ones that are going to have to pay for this. Yeah. Because once the pharmacies say, I'm not taking that plan, or they go out of business, or you're forced to a pharmacy that's owned by the PBM, their contract terms, how they price their Med A, med carts, discounted, all of that is going to change. Yeah. And it's all going to be a price increase to the nursing home or the assisted living facility, depending on what they pay for. So we have to head that off by gathering right now and making sure we fix the problem.
So Anthony Chacha's made a pretty significant impact, I think, in Brooklyn, his company Brooklyn.
46 Brooklyn.
Yeah. I haven't talked to him in a while, but that's the kind of noise and disruption that we've always needed. And I know he's gaining more steam, and their company's gaining more and more steam. But is there other type of companies out there that are doing similar things that he's doing, exposing the PBMs, working directly with state Medicaid programs?
I have to believe there are. I'm not as familiar with other ones. He testified when I testified in Illinois, and I mean he's the most knowledgeable on all of this, and he comes up with the best phrases and ways to articulate it so that legislators do understand more about it than maybe they did before. I like his analogy that the PBMs are the arsonist and the firefighter. Well, that's a good one. I'm like, you're right. That's exactly what they are. They set the fire, and then, by the way, we can come in and put the fire out.
Just pace a little more.
Right. But no, he does a great job. He also is probably the furthest one down the road of what a solution might look like. He talks about there has to be some sort of fair and reasonable profit margin on a prescription and dispensing fee or fee for the services you provide on that prescription. Yeah. So he's a little bit more evolved than some of these solutions that we've seen at the state level, which are very, we got to fix it right now. We're gonna fix it right now this way, and then try to come up with the better mousetrap a little bit further down the road.
Well, he is from Pittsburgh, so a big Pittsburgh fan. So he's smart right off the bat, right?
He does live in Ohio.
Only because it's less expensive, but you would think
more desirable.
He's had public, it's been very public what he's been able to do, with Ohio and some other states. So, if any state legislator is paying attention, if anybody's over trying to responsible for controlling Medicaid cost in their state, you would think they'd be calling him up like crazy.
For sure. Or his company, for sure.
That his phone's ringing off the hook.
And I think he's made tremendous strides. I mean, Ohio's a good example of saving them, $250 million just simply in one aspect of what the PBM was doing in the spread pricing piece. So yeah, he's helping Ohio relook at how they pay for their pharmacy services and their medications services, and use that money to reinvest in other services. So
certainly.
Not only is he fixing the problem, but he's fixing the problem in a way that is fair and responsible to the pharmacies.
Right.
He's not just handing them. It's not a money giveaway. It's a reinvestment and a change in how pharmacies are reimbursed so that it's more equitable.
So let's talk about Mark Cuban and his Cash Plus, right? Model, and he put enough pressure out there where CVS last November or December came out and said, within a year, we're going to adopt some kind of Cash Plus model. I haven't heard anything from CVS about that since then. I'm assuming that they are going to do what they say they're going to do, but what's your thoughts on that type of modeling?
I mean, I don't know. I'd like to see it. He's got a great model, but it's a model that only works for cash-paying individuals. I mean, so if you have a really savvy employer that really understands the healthcare benefit that they're providing their employees, you could use a cost-plus pharmacy and your insurance and work them. Here's the medications we're just going to write the check for. Don't use your insurance. The employer will have a mechanism to just pay for it. And then if it's a different drug, you might just go through your normal, card and your insurance. That's one way of thinking about it. But, I'm sure I said this on our show before, but I thought he was just making a lot of noise. It seems to have taken on another level of influence. He's not only making a lot of noise, he's starting to influence, to your point, how PBMs are looking at things and how the public is looking at how medications are priced. And that's good. His solution still is limited. I mean, he can't carry all the drugs.
But
he's not involved at all on the PBM side. And I think his message to employers is you need to start hiring the innovative PBMs out there that are transparent, that have incorporated the use of a cost-plus pharmacy benefit in their plan. And that's how you swing the tide. You've got to get the employer groups to say, you're right, United is awful. Caremark's awful. I'm not going to use them. I'm going to use this little one that just popped up that has a really good, novel way of doing things. He's right about that.
Yeah.
But that takes time too.
Yeah. I said Cash Plus, but you're correcting me. It's Cost Plus. But coming from a pharmacist perspective, I think I'd be okay with that, right? You're gonna pay me my Cost Plus, and then make it just as simple as you can possibly make it. And I think again, long-term care pharmacy needs a plus because we're doing a lot of our things that maybe just a dispensing pharmacy like Cubans necessarily wouldn't be doing.
Right.
But that I think that model would make it so simple across the board.
When he's got some sort of network into independent pharmacies, somehow he's supporting them. This cost plus model. I don't know if he is giving them access to product so that they can price it in the cost plus way, or a card.
Like a GetRx card, you mean?
Yeah, but he is somehow supporting. Maybe we'll do some homework on that. But
or we could have him here as a guest.
We could.
If he wants to come on next time he's in
DC. A couple of days ago when I was golfing with him, I asked him. No, I'm kidding. So, I don't know.
Yeah. There's so much up in the air. So there again, I don't like to spend a lot of time worrying about things. I like to jump right to the solution. Okay, that's a problem. Let me focus on what I can control, what I can solve, what I can do about it. But we're kind of in a situation where we're running into all these roadblocks. IRA, everybody's talking about. Of course, we're in a very difficult labor market right here, and that's going to get worse because as seniors continue retiring. They're quitting their jobs, but also that now we have to take care of them, at the same time, and so there's a lot of different challenges going on that seems to all be coming in, all at the same time and squeezing us. But as far as like, hope and inspiration and those kind of things, I'd love to see the Anthony Chachas or the Mark Cubans of the world trying to do something different, trying to be disruptive, trying to create, if they can't get the right attention, they're going to at least create a different solution that Medicaid or patients can hopefully grab onto.
Yeah, and that's why I think this is a major priority for pharmacy, this PBM reform. But there's all these other little things that maybe they're not as little, that we have to keep pressing. Provider status, test, treat, vaccinate. That's has revenue implications. We got to keep pressing. There's a lot of money floating around right now because of the need for healthcare workers out into the future to take care of this population. We're making sure that pharmacists are part of those bills. So if they're going to pour money into training resources or ways that technicians can go to school and become pharmacists, all those things, we're making sure that pharmacists are listed as eligible for those kinds of benefits. So that's another way of thinking about it. And then obviously we're aggressively pursuing all of the different ways pharmacists can get paid that aren't related to product. Incident to billing, MTMs, like how can we keep getting those things out there and more tangible so that they do start to support the pharmacy and they're not so dependent on the reimbursement for product.
Right. So not PBM dependent,
right?
And certainly,
and things like long-term care at home, like opening up a whole new population of people that you already are good at taking care of, that now you're allowed to take care of in a way that gets you fairly reimbursed.
Yep.
Like, think about consulting to people at home because they're eligible, because they have two ADLs that they have problems with. Yeah. So those are opportunities,
right?
And we have to keep pushing on all those buttons.
So that's a good lead in to my final question. The ASCP annual national convention's coming up.
That's right. We're in
very, very shortly.
Registration is open.
Yep. A couple months away. Anything that you're really looking forward to at the national convention, other than just seeing everybody and getting together, but any main learning points or main presentations, anything that you're really excited about?
I mean, we have I'm always excited. I think we have a really great program. It's very balanced. In particular, we have some expert panels on artificial intelligence. We have a panel on PBMs. We have specific, operational efficiency programs to go along with all of the clinical programs and the BCG programs that you've come to expect from the ASCP meeting. We've also got a couple of unique presentations that are going to be a little bit different. So instead of going to a room and listening to a lecture for 45 minutes and asking questions, we're going to have more active learning opportunities. So cases where there may not be a real answer. It's just, here's the case. What would you do? And you talk to your colleagues in the room about it and try to figure it out. So we have that, and we have all of our fun stuff, our Berman Awards and our party, which I think.
You wearing the Steeler jacket at your Berman Awards again this year?
No, that was last year. No.
You're not going to downgrade, are you?
No.
Jacket
I'm going to keep that. You have to come and see what I'm going to wear to the Berman. I'm going to keep that under wraps for now.
Okay. It's a secret.
But registration
is. You can vote. Place your vote now on what chat you're wearing.
Yeah. Send in to info@ascp.com what color jacket I should wear at the Berman Awards.
Yeah, we got enough graphic imaging, artificial intelligence. I think that people put a picture of Chad, should put an outfit on him and send it out.
Oh, great!
And we can post it to the ASCP website.
That sounds great.
That's a good idea.
But registration's robust right now. We're trending way ahead than previous years, and I think that may be what I'm most excited about, is because that's the best part of our meeting, is the networking and the people talking about their practices, talking about their work, talking about their home life, and just getting back together.
And it's
It's in Denver. It'll be fun.
Yeah,
it's at
right
a great
there.
hotel called the Gaylord Rockies. It's the newest of the Gaylord properties. I know some people go back and forth on whether or not they like those kinds of properties, but it fits our meeting, and I've heard nothing but good things from other groups that have had their meetings there. So
I like those properties because everyone kind of stays there. If you've got a property that is it may be in a big metropolitan area, but it's not all enclosed, then everybody just goes out to dinner. And they
right.
meet for the evening, but here they all tend to stay and eat there, and we get to hang out and be together the entire time. So
and that's where that networking is best on display.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
All right, well, that has been the midsummer August 12th, or the week of August 12th episode of Our Experience. If you happen to see Alex Litwack today, tell him happy birthday.
That's right.
And we'll see you next time.
29 once, right?
That's right. And we'll see you next time on Our Experience.